This is Jesus' words. I have said, ye are gods, and all of you are children of the Most High. But ye shall die like me and fall like one of the princes. In John 10:34, Jesus answers an angry mob by declaring, is it not written in your law, I said ye are gods? So he's even referencing their scriptures. And this is how religions get convoluted. And you see the selective bias. They want to almost mesmerize the masses. Do as I say, not as I do. And incite anger and rage. When the masses are not informed and they don't have their gifts to utilize their discernment, they're easy to control. Think about the masses only being in Latin for hundreds of years, and the average individual was not able to read and interpret the Bible for themselves until they finally got the Bible in. They could just see in Latin. They would tell you what it said. Can you imagine? Can you see what's going on here? How many religions teach that only they have a path to God? And that if you believe this particular religious dogma, that you'll live in paradise, that they are the chosen ones. And I promise you, almost all of them have that. But yet, if you don't believe like me, everyone else is going to hell, purgatory, whatever it is. It's ludicrous. I want you to start to see this. The more discerning mind that is not entrenched in fear can start to distinguish between man-made religious rules versus God's loving, embracing nature. And that's where you're going to use your intuition and your logic. God gave you all those gifts to utilize. He gave you discernment. Stepping out of the matrix of programming and dogma allows one to be empowered and liberate themselves from the divisive doctrine and mind control, because that is what's happening. Anger, rage, and killing in the name of God is a program that needs to be deleted, and humanity needs to rise above it. Creating terrorists on any side of the equation is not of God, but of men trying to use religion to further their own ends. Genocide has been enacted by many religions and on many races. There's not one in particular. They've all done it. I wouldn't go back in time. So this is wrong. And we, the people, need to come online and rise up and not comply with this religious dogma or any other dogma. Now, think about this. Now that I've shown you some of these things, can this mind control of programming be done through the media? Because that's now how this is being done. Yes. By inciting rage, only showing selected information, and suppressing the other side of the story is how the media incites rage and sows divide between peoples and nations. The louder they scream, the more they're covering something up. And remember that history is written by the victors, not those that were subjugated. Our founding fathers gave us that information, freedom of press. I don't see that happening today. They gave us the rights, and they're being slowly eroded. But if that's why you have freedom of press, so that you can have engagement, so that both sides of the equations are brought forth. There are many more sides. There's not just two sides of the story. I tell my kids, it's your side and my side, it's your truth, my truth, and the real truth, right? And so this literally is what has to happen, and that's being eroded. Right now, the media has one refrain and they're speak told what to say. So when you start to see the manipulation and discover how they're doing it, ask then, who are reaping the profits? Who then is getting their agenda promoted? Then you can avoid the programming. Let's go back in time, because it's easier to see back in time than today. We can talk about today later. John Snow was an English physician who discovered that cholera was transmitted by water, not bad odors or this melasma or poisonous gas as they believed back in 1854. So now we all know the cholera is transmitted by water, correct? He figured it out, and he demonstrated that contaminated water was the key source of the epidemics in London. The members of parliament chose not to believe him and refused to debate him. He was a conspiracy theorist. The clergy believed that cholera was a punishment from God, and especially Reverend Whitehead, public health officials. Reverend Whitehead was the clergy condemning this. The public health officials did not want to accept the fact that cholera was due to a bacteria from the water, right? Because other doctors had testified 20 years earlier in front of the Royal Commission on the Water Supply of the metropolis that the waters of the Thames River are as perfectly harmless as any spring water of the purest kind in common life. So I want you to see that he was telling the truth. He had discovered this. He was saving lives. He went to them and told them, and they shut him up. He didn't know what he was doing and did not believe him. Dr. Snow died. However, Reverend Whitehead, who had been his worst detractor, when he started, it came back again with a vengeance. Cholera people were dying. He, even then, his worst detractor, became his staunch ally when Dr. Snow died. And he says, wait a second, there might be credence to it. And he went on to prove and show that cholera was caused by waterborne source. Dr. Snow was vindicated, but after his death. This is another. Dr. Ignatius Semmelweis, a Hungarian physician working in a Vienna hospital, made the connection between physicians performing autopsies and then delivering babies, and the mothers dying of puerperal fever, which is a streptococcus bacteria, and an infection at a high rate. His theory of the contagiousness of disease took another 20 years to become accepted. And all he did was ask them, the physicians, to wash their hands. Because what was happening back then, the doctors were doing autopsies. And it was a big deal back then to show all the blood and you were a doctor. They would do an autopsy, then go deliver a baby, and the mothers would die. And he started recognizing that the midwives who weren't doing the autopsies, well, their mothers were living. And he started to theorize that there was something going on. Please wash your hands. He ended up being ignored and died in an insane asylum because the medical establishment did not want to hear him. He was vindicated later. So I want you to see this resistance. And so you have these pioneers making these discoveries and being hurt. And when you see that, you've got to recognize that's a problem.